Would you believe me if I told you that Twice's Fancy was released 5 years ago today? Today, April 22nd in Korea marks the 5th anniversary of the Fancy You album's release. As someone who was a once before and during the release of Fancy You, it's always been kind of difficult to wrap my head around Fancy's presence and the weight it has in the cultural world of K-pop. Twice reached a new climax in their career the year before with the release of What Is Love in April of 2018, continuing to slowly expand their influence out of Asia and to other parts of the world. The subsequent releases after that, Dance the Night Away and Yes or Yes, continued laying the foundation for their rise to becoming a truly global girl group, and all of that work would lead up to an overwhelming crescendo with what they would accomplish that following year. In April of 2019, Fancy You was released as Twice's 6th extended play album. In retrospect, it cultivated kind of a perfect storm, the sound, style, and image coming at just the perfect time to reach international audiences in early 2019 at the height of the Hallyu Wave's rapid expansion. The remarkable thing about this project in retrospect is that it isn't anything too out of the ordinary for Twice as a group as we had known them up until that point. Fancy You slightly refines the image of Twice, resorting to a more chic image rather than cute, as the members themselves put it back then. This was Twice attempting to slowly progress on from the sound and image that gained them such a following in Asia since the start of their career. Twice's success had always seen them international success as well, but Fancy You was undoubtedly the watershed moment that launched them into the global sphere. In this video, I want to outline the background behind this album, what I think it represents, all while appreciating the project for what it is. Starting with a bit of an obscure background regarding this release, before this project was even announced, a series of 3 cryptic GIFs were posted to Twice's Twitter account on April 3rd. The finally moving GIF features the Twice logo morphing into a star. The Fever moving GIF features a moving graphic of what the signature dance move for the title track Fancy would be, and then, posted 5 hours later after the first 2 GIFs, the Fabulous moving GIF features a fishnet glove with gems on it, reminiscent of a lot of the styling we would see during the upcoming era. The Fabulous moving GIF in particular also sent onces into deep speculation that Twice was about to do a collaboration with the Avengers, but that never turned out to be true. I think they were just inspired by the Avengers in 2019. A kind of sad but also funny story about these GIFs. While they were technically not a part of Fancy's official promotional materials, onces did start to raise a bit of a commotion, complaining about how low effort the designs for the moving posters seemed to be. That was until we found out a little while later that it was Chaeyoung who made the GIFs as a special gift for onces, and then everybody felt pretty bad for ever complaining about them. This was kind of a common complaint throughout Twice's earlier career, the neglect promotional teasers often got, and Fancy You went on to carry a lot of the same questionable design choices. The promotional images and album artwork look editorial at times, but that's never really a concept that's expanded upon. Most of the album artwork is Twice in front of a green screen with stock images of nature in the background. Again, JYP Entertainment got a lot of criticism for this, the excessive use of green screen in the music video as well, but in my personal opinion, I think this works for the Fancy You album in particular. I normally look for intention behind a concept when it comes to K-pop releases, but I do believe Fancy You is an album without a distinct concept beyond the title track, and that's completely fine. As much as I like and enjoy concept work in K-pop, I think K-pop benefits from not being required to overthink things. I don't think Fancy You would have benefited from being some kind of concept album. The album was constructed with the title track in mind as the leading message, and not much concept work is done to expand beyond that idea, but it works. Fancy as a song is the centerpiece of this project, though the B-sides also tell a remarkable story in their own right as well. All of it comes together to express Twice's intention to move in a new direction, a commitment to trying new things and expanding their artistic image. There's not much of a conceptual direction in the current moment for this album, but at the same time as I say that, I also personally think the inclusion of the Twice coaster at the end of the music video is foundationally important to the identity of this group, conceptually very significant. Twice's leading narrative up until the point of Fancy was very introspective, asking what the meaning of love is, having trouble speaking how they truly feel, and so on. I made a video about what I think the Twice coaster is a while ago, but simply put, I believe it's a simple through line in their work that describes the unstable emotions that come with growing up and experiencing love. The Twice coaster is a physical, emotional roller coaster that's introduced to us with the title track TT, a song about how frustrating it is to not be able to speak how you truly feel, but a physical roller coaster is never something we actually see until the point of Fancy, a song which sees Twice lyrically facing their fears and speaking to the love interest honestly. Fancy really concludes the conflict we've seen in Twice's narrative up until that point. Twice have always ruminated about love through their earlier work, remarked about how nervous they are about the love interest knowing about how they truly feel. Fancy sees Twice now speaking directly to the subject of the story, saying, "I love you" in all sincerity. Having overcome the fear of confrontation and now finally speaking what they truly feel, Twice are now on the roller coaster of emotions again, but notably enjoying the ride. They can enjoy it after having conquered that fear. This is what I believe the TWICECOASTER is. So, the significance of Fancy to me is that despite the change in sound not seeming all that crazy in retrospect, this was a huge turning point for Twice in almost every aspect of their identity as a group. It was something new and paid off immensely well, as I'm sure most people are aware. Fancy is now one of, if not the representative Twice song for a lot of people. It captures the essence of their group in a meaningful way, despite the concept not being immediately apparent to people who aren't paying attention or who are unfamiliar with Twice's earlier material. It doesn't require the listener to overthink things, which I think makes for the best kind of pop music. This is what I think makes Twice so easy to understand and identify with universally. Their inherent concept is one that represents the strengths of K-pop that people come to appreciate the most, their willingness to talk about topics and ideas that aren't often given the credit they deserve. The rest of the Fancy You album features songs that continue this narrative and style change in their discography, featuring songs about feeling confident in yourself, taking control over your own narrative and making decisions based on what you want, and also the fun party tracks like Hot and Turn It Up. 4 out of the 6 songs in this album feature writing credits from the members of Twice, which makes the album feel all the more significant to the group's story. The increasing levels of agency Twice begins to take in writing their own transition and musical style, which I don't think they're given nearly enough credit for. Twice as songwriters is seriously one of this group's hidden superpowers. It's their writing more than anything on this album that shows their intention to move in a newer direction artistically. Jiho's Girls Like Us most especially, which is a song that behaves like an anthem for girls like them to march confidently in the directions they want to go in life. Chang as well, using GarageBand of all music producer apps to guide the production and writing on the song Strawberry. The transition between Yes or Yes to Fancy as an album becomes even more apparent as time goes on, and the events of Fancy You, everything that made up this album, definitely seems to lay the foundation for the refined artists all 9 members of Twice are that we see today. Twice is still to this day moving in musical directions that make them inspired and happy to perform, and as always, I'm glad that they both feel the freedom to do that and are still happy to be performing all these years later. I think Fancy You's widespread success definitely gave them the confidence to continue making musical choices based on what they want to do. That is Fancy You. 5 years later, it's still hard to fully understand how significant this album is in retrospect, but this is my understanding of it now, my appreciation for it now. Thank you for watching this if you did. Let me know if you have any other ideas or memories with the Fancy You album. Subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you next time.